And welcome back to the last part of our evening. We have about 12 of us who are still here, and YouTube is still running. I'm going to I'm going to add Georgia, Hyacinth, and Anne.
Still here.
Take a moment to come up and join me on the stage, and I'll disappear, and
Yeah.
they'll conduct a debrief conversation. Okay, guys, take it away.
All right, great. I'm hoping that we were able to have some conversations at our tables. There are some persons, but they were able to put their comment in the chat. And we're not gonna do a full debrief. What I think is important is for us to recognize that there is no one. So we have the service sector industry that's so different from oil and gas, that's so different from manufacturing. We have to think differently based on our circumstance. And one of the key things in the first case is that the team members got just 1 week notice. 1 week notice. So you can imagine the kind of fear that they faced, the kind of apprehension that they faced, because many of them, I'm sure, have children at home. School is not in session. What kind of arrangements will they be making now for the children to be looked after? And so many considerations that they have to be thinking about. And then in the other case, where it was a production team that had to go out in full force and the back office were able to phase, or when some of them were still working from home, we have to be careful sometimes of the disparity, We don't want one set being ticked off at the other set. Some feeling that some are more privileged than others. So these are some of the things that we need to take into consideration. But ladies, you tell me from your own perspective, what you see about these cases and the distinctions in each case. Hyacinth, you want to go?
I was moving from table to table, trying to get into discussion with someone who was discussing this particular case. I joined in the discussion with the hotel case, which was quite interesting, but I didn't manage to pick up on anyone who was discussing the manufacturing case. But I could, from my perspective, I think, again, we come back to engagement and we come back to discussion, because you see, in a manufacturing organization, especially if that organization is process-based, where you have a plant operating, and once you have a line running, that line must continue running. When you, it's either you're operating or you're not operating. So when you had to shut down, you shut down. If you were determined to be non-essential, I recall Coca-Cola here. They had to shut down, and demand was not as it was before. And then
sorry, Hyacinth, so you're saying that Coke is not essential?
Can you imagine?
For some people it is. It keeps them away.
They shut down. They had to shut down. And when they looked at their warehouses, and they had cases right up to the ceiling. During the period of time, they had to ask the workers not to come to work for a few days, I think 1 week at a time, because they had oversupply. During that period, they pay them. I think they're making some other decisions now. But when a plant is running, a plant is running. And if the plant, if the management is saying, okay, we are opening back up, the factory floor has to open back up. I don't know that you can do 6 feet in that. You have to take precautions to ensure that the physical, when people are close, they are not at risk. They're not putting other people at risk, so they have to wear their mask and wear PPEs and so on. But a plant has to run in a particular way, and there's a distinction between people on a plant and people in offices. They are two different sets of workers. So if I say my plant is opening back up and I need my production workers to report in a particular way, you have to take all the necessary precautions to ensure safety and all of the things that you have to ensure. But because we are asking the office workers to stage how they come in, that should be understandable. But we have to make it clear as to why it is we are doing that. There's a business reason, there's a production reason for it. And when I think once we make that clear, then we're in a better position to get some support. Yeah.
Right. And it's all about transparency.
Yes.
Making it clear. Yes. And what about you?
Yeah, just thinking again about the hotel. As I mentioned earlier, there's going to be a lot of emotions that people are going to feel. Now, I worked in hospitality for 7.5 years at the management level, and one of the things that I regret so much now, having gone back to school and studied and so on, was that I used to have as my mantra, you have to leave your emotions at the back gate, and I used to say that to people all the time. And of course, now I realize how nonsensical that is, especially since we are asking people to use their emotions to engage guests. So what we really are saying is,
Yes,
we wanted to leave that fight you might have had with your significant other or your child, and we want you to bring your cheery self to the back gate, through that back gate. And I used to say, and pick it up when you go out the door, when you go back out again.
yes,
That is ridiculous. So we
It
have
is.
to really, yeah, but I know people are still saying it today because it is an expectation that we have. That's an impossible expectation. So when we think about this
yes,
pandemic, and one of the things that I keep reminding individuals, the people who went into the pandemic are not the same people who came out. For hopefully
yes,
for most of us, we are better, we're more resilient, we're so on. But some people are just very different. But whatever it is, we have to recognize that as we think about this reopening, when people hear, we're reopening, just think through. And, if the few people are here, I'd love them to put in the chat, what are some of the emotions they think people would be feeling? Because I actually posed a similar
mhm,
question like this to my HR group, Masters in HR, that I teach online. And some of the things that we thought they'd be feeling is, good, I'm getting back to earn my income, because many people, been not earning an income. Other people be feeling fear, and we had discussed that earlier. One of my students said some people, because in the Bahamas they're supporting them financially, some people might be saying, well, I
yes,
don't know that I need to go back out right now. I'm kind of enjoying this little break. So there's going to be a mix of emotions that people are bringing
yes,
back into the workspace. And then when you add to that the fact that there's going to be this idea that people are coming and perhaps infecting me, my family, my community, we really have to deal with that. So I think this is a time when management doesn't just talk about the cleaning protocols, which is what we have spent a lot of time talking about, making sure that,
yes,
this is safe and wear your gloves and so on. And in the beginning, I think they've gotten more balanced. But in the beginning, we didn't hear a lot about employees. How do you feel? How to keep
yes,
you safe? How to keep your community safe? And when we do that,
yes,
I think that that's going to be very important, because we know all the science tells us that when employees feel safe, happy, etc., they're going to transmit that to their customers. So we're going to have to take
right,
care of them first. I always remind people that when we're flying, remember those days, on a plane, they always say to us, put on the
your
yeah,
mask
before you
first,
put it on the other person. So we have to put it on our employees first. So it's a time
yes,
for what we call at GMB, the huddle and all of those things where we get together with people. How you
yes,
feel, Hyacinth, how you feel, boy,
yes,
I feel your pain, and we share stories, and then we build from there. I think that's going to be very important, especially, so I've been speaking
right,
about hotels, but that's true if it's a bank, if it's a retail store, everything.
right, right. So
Hmm.
important. And I saw a few words in the chat. You spoke about
Hmm.
fear,
Yes.
and people talk about uncertainty and
Oh,
skepticism, and all of
yes.
that. While you're experiencing all of that, you still need to be productive.
Absolutely. Absolutely.
So that's a dance. That's
Yes.
a dance more than a
Yeah,
tango that
more
you
than
have
a
to do.
tango. Yeah, but
More
as
than
you
a
talk about
tango that
tango, it takes two to tango. So I want to pick up on the word
yeah,
skepticism.
yes,
I am KFC is very popular in Jamaica, and had a discussion recently with some friends from Trinidad, and they're like, "Oh, which KFC tastes better?" Right? 'Cause, but we both come from countries where apparently everybody comes from overseas, and they stop at KFC first thing because our KFC tastes better
yeah.
than the one they're used to overseas.
In the
Right,
States.
exactly.
Yes,
But they laid off staff. And everybody was up in arms and saying, how could KFC be laying off staff first thing, and so on and so forth. But and I think that people don't really understand some of the stresses they would have been under, because curfew cut their operating hours. At one point we were closing at 6, so the after work crowd that you would have had, you know, taking home, they had to be hustling home, so that was cutting their shift and so on. So I think that, you know, there's going to be skepticism. Did you really have to do this? And management needs now to open up their books and say, yeah, this is what we're facing, these are the realities. And they also have to lead from in front sometimes by saying, and we've seen this happen in the US and other places too, we took a cut as well, you know, so that you're getting the two to tango. We're not saying that, okay, the janitor has to go first and cutting the lowest pay, and then, you know, the CEO continues to be a fat cat.
Yes. I see Sean put in the chat that KFC in Antigua is the best.
Well, so I don't know. I don't have my flag anymore, but I don't want us to start
we have to take a trip to find out. Sean, we have to do a taste test, Sean. We'll do a taste test when the borders are open. Ladies, this has been absolutely fabulous. I have enjoyed spending time with you and our audience. I'm hoping that they enjoyed it as much as I did. I mean, as a moderator, I should not be biased, but I think that, you know, this was really such an engaging conversation. And you could see from even some of the comments and the questions people were asking. It's well needed. And we're living it, something that we're living. It's real. And, you know, one of the last things I want to say is I doubt that there's any one of us here who, when we went to school to learn about management or HR, we were taught how to manage the pandemic.
No.
I don't think we're taught how to manage the pandemic, but we had to learn on our feet.
And we should stand up and applaud ourselves. I keep saying that because, you know, we are so critical most of the time, but people turned on a dime. HR turned on a dime. Manufacturing, I mean, one day companies were making rum and vodka. The next day they were making hand sanitizer. You know, we need to find the good and praise it, because, you know, we're not at the end. We're not at the end. We have a long way to go. When we open up, you guys say you're not open yet in Trinidad. It's inevitable. Cases are going to come in once we open up. So we need to, like, these are the good times, right? So we need to
I think that
yes, Tyson, your parting shot.
I think that COVID has really shown us that we can change.
Yes.
This whole issue about change, you know, people need to change, you need to adapt to the environment and all of that, but it has shown us that we can change. There are two ways people change. One is if you have the will to change, and if you see that there is change needed and you take action items to change, or other way is if there's a crisis. And sometimes the crisis has to come for us to change. And maybe we just didn't have the will, you know, to digitize our workplaces and the way we work, and to do the things that we needed to do to make work, to increase productivity and efficiency and so on. And the crisis did it for us. So we have to take this as a blueprint for the new way of work going forward and embrace it.
Absolutely.
Thank you. Thank you so much. It really was an absolute pleasure moderating this panel. I feel like I'm in the company of queens.
You are.
Two doctors in the house. I look up to you, ladies. Francis?
Yes,
it was my pleasure hosting. So I'm handing over to you,
All
Francis.
right, before I close, I wanted to make sure, see if there were any final comments from the case studies, from our participants. Anyone have any comment they wanted to share about the conversation that they had at their table? Just put it in the chat and we'll make note of it and share it out. So go ahead. If you had any last comments about the cases, just type that into the chat.
You know, Francis, very fascinating. Apparently KFC is a hot button. So we have a debate going on about barbecue versus.
I'm watching. We need to put on a whole webinar on what's the best KFC.
You have a new topic.
Because that's the one thing we all share across the room. We don't share patties, we don't share doubles, we don't share sauce.
Yes.
But we share KFC.
Yes. So Francis, that's the next survey on Caribbean.
Apparently, that's going to be the next next topic. Tune in 2 weeks' time when we'll be talking about who really has the best KFC.
Exactly.
Dana says no way, so I don't think that's going to fly.
Oh gosh.
All right, well, let me turn my camera off.
Enjoyed it.
Great, guys. I wanted to thank you on behalf of Caribbean Shark Forum and Hyacinth and Georgia for, I know the hard work you put in behind the scenes to make tonight seem so easy, effortless, and fun, and so informative. So thanks so much for your input, your effort, your energy, your great spirit. It's been great having you, and you're all invited again. Guys, join me in thanking our presenters. We are going to stay open for another 15 minutes in networking mode. We'll close out at 8:30, so you'll have time to keep chatting if you want at the tables and move around. So it'll stay open. We're still open for business, so to speak. And let me turn off the recording. And people are saying thanks, great panelists, discussions, case studies. Hyacinth is quoted as saying, embrace the new way of work.
Yes.
Yes, for sure.
Thank you, Doctors Crick and Guy. Thank you, ladies. Thank you, ladies. Great job. Change is not as difficult as we thought from Shona. And then went into the KFC discussion before that.
I'm sorry, Francis.
There'll be a,
I think that was the most important thing we said
I'm
this
telling
evening.
get them to sponsor.
And now all of a sudden there'll be this uptick in everybody heading to KFC tonight.
All of a sudden, you start to get the taste for it.
Joyce and Cayman has the best. Joyce and Cayman has the best.
Yeah, I think we'll have to do a trip.
Oh, God. Thank you, Tamar. Tamar is
Bye.
saying.
Bye.
Thanks for the
Bye.
All
feedback.
right, guys, take
All
care.
right, take care.
Okay.
Bye.
Take care.
Bye.